Okay. Welcome in, everybody. Marine Lair Podcast Sunday Night Live. Let's get Lyle in here. Welcome, bud.
Welcome. Oh, people are already going. People are already
People are.
firing away. If the Braves lose, I'm gonna scream. Well, I suppose people must be watching the game.
Oh,
Um,
interesting. Well, welcome in, everybody. Marine Lair Podcast Sunday Night Live, live here on our Instagram and our YouTube channel every single Sunday night at 7 p.m. We're here to answer your guys' questions, so feel free to shoot us them in the Instagram chat and the YouTube chat. Feel free to follow us on all of our social media platforms at Marine Layer Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. You can find us on YouTube. Just search the Marine Layer Podcast, look for that teal logo. And if you really, really want us to answer your question, feel free to send us a super chat in the YouTube chat, and we'll be sure to get to it. Love you all. Appreciate you still being here, even though the not the best conditions, Lyle. Again, I feel like we're having some similar conversations here recently.
I feel like we're starting to run out of things to say. Should we just put it like that? I don't know what we're supposed to keep saying. It's the same repeated narrative every week.
And that's disappointing. It's almost Groundhog Day, I'll say. It's starting to feel like it, unfortunately. But hopefully, you guys sent in some entertaining stuff last week. The Mariners sucked last week too, Lyle, and we spent the whole live stream not even talking about the Mariners. It
That's
was
true.
about the
Well,
Costco guys. It was a
we did
mix.
talk. We did talk about the Costco guys for a while. Well, they did win a series last week, and to be fair, they won one series this week. They just happened to lose a series against the second worst team in baseball. I mean, yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's your guys' cue. You can send us Mariners questions if you want. We will of course answer them. We're happy to talk about them. We're happy to answer any questions you guys have. But if everybody just kind of wants to mess around in this live stream and send some funny stuff and talk about whatever, send that. We'll answer. We'll answer anything.
And just want to remind you guys too, we're filling in on Brock and Salk tomorrow, bright and early from 6 to 10 on Seattle Sports. So if you want to hear us talk a little bit more then in a different live environment instead of this, be sure to tune in. That should be a lot of
Yeah.
fun. So we'll be
And,
there. And oh, go ahead.
yeah, and with that, so we're doing a fun segment tomorrow on Brock and Salk where those of you who listen to the show will know what this is. Those of you who don't will explain it at 9:45 before the show ends. Final segment. We're doing a segment called Answer the Question Jerk, which is we take your guys' questions about anything you want. So your guys' responsibility and task, if you guys want us to answer one of your questions live on the show tomorrow, DM it to us. DM it to us on Twitter, DM it to us on Instagram, whatever works best for you guys. Or tomorrow, if you're listening live, you can text in on the text line, which is 877-979-3776. I think I got that right.
Nope.
No? I thought I
No.
got it right.
866.
866, not 877. What do I'm only on the show every day. Why would I not know that?
Why? Yeah,
Sorry.
why wouldn't you know that? Sorry, you're
Uh,
gonna get your pay docked
yeah.
tomorrow.
Okay. 866-979-3776. That's where you can text it in tomorrow. Or if you just want to do it in advance, DM it to us. It can be about anything you want. It could be Mariners. It could be Seahawks. It could be college football. It could be life questions. And Brock and Talk do a lot of those a lot of the time when they're funny. They're kind of about themselves or about often non-sports topics. Send them in. DM them to us. Like we want to get as many good ones as we can. So there's a little plug for that. And with that, let's start taking your guys' questions because there's some filing in. Can I get a shout out? Shout out 27 Baseball 05 on Instagram. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate it. Let's see.
So Yuri sends one in on the YouTube chat, and his question's about Jerry's contract. Sorry, has
Mhm.
Jerry's contract been extended or is it expiring this month? So Yuri, and as far as information that's publicly available, the way Ryan Divish has laid it out, I think he's got a better idea of it than we have. By the way, in case you've missed it, please go check out our Ryan Divish episode that we had on Wednesday. He said a lot. It said a lot. It's made its rounds this week, and if you somehow haven't listened to it yet, you're probably gonna want to. Right? It's a lot of really good information, so I'd go check that out. But anyways, around Jerry's contract, as far as we know, there's an option in Jerry's contract for next season. I don't know if there's a deadline to pick up that option. I don't know when it is. So I think it's at the point now where the Mariners are essentially deciding whether or not they pick up that option or not. Now, that since Jerry hired Dan Wilson as the full-time manager, at least Jerry said he hired Dan Wilson as the full-time manager, I would assume Jerry's back next year and that option gets picked up. Does he get guaranteed years beyond that or an option year beyond that? I'd say no, not at this point. Yeah, do you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, I think that's about right. I would assume it's gonna get picked up in 2025. I like the way they made the hire, the way everything went makes it seem like Jerry will be here in 2025. Now, beyond that, we don't know. I would be surprised if he was fired after this season, but we don't know. Things could go a lot of different ways. If I were to guess, I would guess he is here in 2025. But yeah, I think you got that right. I don't know when the deadline is to pick up that option. I don't know when the Mariners have to make a decision. But as far as Ryan Divish has told us, or not told us, but told the masses, he's reported that Jerry has an option in his contract next season. So he doesn't have to renegotiate one. The Mariners don't have to do contract talks with him this offseason. The Mariners themselves will have the decision. Will we bring Jerry back? Will he not be here? It's kind of in their court.
There's a question I saw in here that I wanted to get to.
Oh, I've got one.
Oh, go for it.
The Mariners need to sign Big Justice. That's from Chad Horn on YouTube.
Well, what about AJ? I think he'd. What about AJ? Well, Big Justice, I guess, is a smaller strike zone.
Although they're still leaving out potentially the most high upside player of the three, which is the Rizzler. According to the Major League Baseball social accounts, he's hit over 70 home runs in a season.
Did you get a kick out of Baby Gronk's diss track?
Dude. How is I don't know how somebody
You're at a loss of words is what I'm gonna just
I'm at a
for you.
I'm at a loss of words, and I don't know how that dad gets away with like letting him like treating him the way he treats him. I think it's ridiculous. But I think we've talked about that on a podcast before. Like Baby Gronk's father, the one who's totally responsible for all the nonsense that goes on around his whole brand. There's something off about that guy. Like something's not right.
Yeah. Yes. To force your son to be famous online would be that.
Mm-hmm. However, I don't know when depending on what the Mariners payroll budget is this winter, they may have to look into the Rizzler and Big Justice. Get him on the
at least something of a marketing campaign.
That would actually be kind of hilarious if they brought the Rizzler and Big Justice into spring training. Remember how Jerry and Scott's first year in 2016 they had Domingo Ayala in spring training for a day?
Yeah.
Well, maybe in 2025, nearly 10 years later, they can do another PR stunt like that, and they bring in the Rizzler and Big Justice and AJ. We would have to get them on the mic if they were at spring training.
Oh yeah. Florida. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Are you going to practice? Ready? Boom. We bring the boom.
Boom.
Yeah.
And what's the thing the Rizzler does? I don't even know. Yeah, that. Well, we've gone off the rails yet again.
Because it's almost like that's what happens when Mariners don't win. Okay, let's see here. There's a lot of fire Jerry in here. Not a lot of fans of Jerry's contract option getting picked up. So here's the thing on that. And then there's another question that someone was asking, would there be people that would be interested in coming here to be the GM? To answer your question, yes, I think there would be, because there's only 30 GM jobs in baseball. So stuff like that doesn't just pop up. So even if it's in an organization like the Mariners, people would still be very interested in that. So you and I had the thought, right, that the reason they hired Dan Wilson is because they couldn't get anyone interested in the Mariners manager position. And Ryan Divish, in his infinite knowledge, explained, no, there would be plenty of interest because, A, you just get multiple guaranteed years, and if they fire you, oh well, you get the money anyway. And that there's only 30 of those jobs, of those sort of resume stamper jobs like being a manager or being a GM is. So that's not an opportunity you would pass up. So yes, I think you could get interest. You would get interest from plenty of people in the Mariners GM position. Could you get someone better? As you and I have talked about multiple times, not totally convinced that they would. Not totally convinced. For as many flaws as Jerry has, and those flaws are being sort of exposed this year with his overall, I would say, the bar of evaluating major league talent to succeed is not all there for Jerry Dipoto. The draft and develop is, the major league talent part is not. At least for a season, though, I think it's still a better option to keep him around. But that's why it's probably only going to pick up the ownership group would think the same thing and just pick up his option for 1 year.
I would agree with that. And yeah, Seattle would be a desirable job to GMs because they have an elite rotation. They've got a center fielder who, despite what's been a really disappointing season, is under contract for a long time. And we know he has the upside to be great, even if he hasn't been elite in the last year and a half's time or anything like that. You know, he still has a chance to be. Like, the point is there's a core in place. You have a foundational catcher. Those are not easy to come by either. There are pieces in place that makes the job desirable, paired with a very good farm system. Would the people in charge of making the hire, one, make the right hire, and two, would they even look outside the organization? We just saw them not look outside the organization for even a split second to replace Scott Service. Would they look outside the organization for even a split second to hypothetically replace Dipoto? I don't know. To be honest, I have some hesitations about that.
So it could be that they just promote Justin Hollander to president of baseball ops. They could do that if we're talking about internal.
Or Jerry just doesn't have a job anymore and Hollander stays the GM instead of getting a promotion. There's just no president of baseball ops.
Or they hire someone else as the president of baseball ops.
Or that. But if Jerry and Justin are a package deal and they're both not around, that's where my fear is.
But Hollander's contract is not the same. They're not lined up, right?
No, but I'm saying if they do kind of they reset. That's what I'm saying. Hypothetically.
Yeah.
Like, if Jerry and Justin hypothetically were both not here next year, then who's the guy? Yeah, if Jerry were to go, then it would be Justin.
That gets hired or that goes with him?
No, I'm saying if it was only Jerry to go, yeah, Justin would be either just the GM and nobody's above him, or he get a promotion. That's probably what they would do. I'm saying if both of them go, that's where I get nervous. If you're trying to get a new regime in place, would they even look outside the organization? Because I have my severe doubts about that.
Based on recency, no, they wouldn't. Which I don't know. Like, again, the current regime that's in place has been fine. Has brought in a lot of really good young minor league talent, but the results speak for themselves that they've made the playoffs one time and that they are currently in the middle of one of the 5 most disappointing seasons in Mariners history. So,
and as we continue to repeat, new front office doesn't mean a new payroll budget. So that's not changing at all. Maybe they'd make better trades, maybe, because in that scenario, maybe you just press the right buttons with the guys you acquire in major league trades, but you're not going to have much more money to work with. You may have less money to work with, depending on how the offseason goes with what the payroll budget is. So that's something to consider too.
Yep. And we don't even know if Root's going to exist next year. So if Root goes away, then that's all that money that's essentially a sunk cost.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let's see. Bridget asked, does Jerry enjoy working on a shoestring budget? Does he have options? I would guess he does not like working on a shoestring budget.
No.
I couldn't imagine any GM that likes not having enough resources to win a World Series, in their opinion.
If it was up to Jerry, I'm sure he'd love to spend a lot more money than he does, but it's not up to him. That part is just not up to him. We have seen the payroll budget get ripped out from underneath them. How many off seasons in a row now? 2, 3, 4. It's happened a lot as of late.
Yeah.
Where there has not been a willingness to spend money. And look, at some point they have to commit to that, because how long can you ask fans to continue to wait around and put your time and energy into this team if it's not going to be reciprocated? And they have made some good moves, right? But I'm saying if what Divish says is true and they actually have to explore trading Randy this offseason, how in the world do you sell that to your fan base? Saying this is supposed to be a contention window with this rotation, with this core group of players, but now we're selling off some of our best players. How are fans going to buy into that? At some point, even if you get on, like, yeah, I get you're going to have to get uncomfortable, but at some point you have to get uncomfortable, or you're gonna lose significant interest from people because they're gonna say, how much longer can we keep putting up with this?
Yeah.
We were told to wait around for a rebuild, right? And they said when the time's right, the payroll's really gonna go up. It's gone up, it's middle of the league, but if it goes down again this offseason or stays the same, I don't think people are gonna be happy.
No, no. I think that was really well said. Bridget asks, I mean, does he have options to go elsewhere? Jerry have options to go elsewhere? I have no idea. Really, no idea about that at all. I'm sure there are teams out there that really like what Jerry Dipoto has done in the minor leagues. Really, really, really like it. But could I confirm that he's being courted? No, I can't. I did think it was funny though. He was in Anaheim this weekend. Thought that
was funny.
Interesting. I'm just shocked from everything we'd heard that he'd actually decided to come back.
It's true. Now, do we think him and Artie sat down and had a nice talk over lunch?
Yeah, do you think they actually made eye contact? Do you think they talked to each other? Is that allowed? Can like another team's owner have lunch with a different team's president of something?
Okay, that I don't know. Maybe not. But we know there is it's not exactly the three best friends that anybody could have, as they say in The Hangover, for Jerry Dipoto, Artie Moreno, if you want to throw Mike Scioscia into that too.
Oh, Mike Scioscia's absolutely in there.
Yeah. Just to use the Hangover reference, and you need a third. I don't think that's exactly the world's greatest friendship. No, I think it's how like the rest of the Hangover movie goes when everybody's just pissed off at each other.
Colby Jack, aka Derek, sends us a super chat here and says, I'm sure many have said this, but he believes the permanent hire by Dan Wilson was dictated by John Stanton. Wilson is very likable, and Stanton has gotten to know and like him over the last years. So I agree with the idea of that. I don't know if it was John Stanton himself, but what I think we could pretty confidently say, no inside knowledge. I will just disclaim that for people thinking like we have inside knowledge. We don't. But from everything it seems like, Dan Wilson was an ownership choice, given that something like a permanent manager was worked out during the season and not naming him interim and doing it in the offseason. Because as Ryan Davis said, all of this is unusual. Well, Jerry Dipoto's been an executive for quite a long time, managing managers, players, other coaches, etc., contract stuff. He knows how this stuff works. Usually when something like this happens, it happens when people who are less familiar with the inner workings of structure like that start making decisions. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think it makes sense. And it's kind of like Christine's point. She just asked this question on Instagram. Are other teams this messy, or is this a Mariners special? Well,
everyone's a different kind of messy. I mean, they're about to go play the A's, who are going to spend the next 2 years in a minor league ballpark. So,
if not longer.
Yeah, if not longer. There are levels to this. So, everyone's got their own kind of messy. Are there teams in baseball without any mess? I would say not. But there are teams with less.
What are the Dodgers dealing with?
When Shohei's next bobblehead night is. They keep people from stealing all of them. I saw a picture, by the way, of these ladies who brought these giant bags and essentially grabbed like 40 or 50 Shohei bobbleheads.
People do that at every stadium. Oh, I see Mariners fans do that too, where I see Mariners fans walking around with sometimes 10 of the promos, and it's like, well, somebody's going to walk away empty-handed today because you've got 12 of them and you're going to sell all but one of them online.
Yeah.
Sad. I guess the only Dodgers thing I could even think of is I'm sure fans were pretty nervous during all the Ippei stuff, and they were like, did we just sign Shohei to this deal? And there's a chance he's actually involved, and he wasn't. So it all ended up being okay. But I'm sure that's the only thing I can really think for the Dodgers' sake of where the mess is.
But we do have friends who are Dodgers fans who could probably tell us something.
I guess. I mean, and I'm sure they'd say the fact that they get bounced early in the playoffs a lot of the time, but I'm just saying, farm system's always great. Spend all the money in the world. They've got three future first ballot Hall of Famers in the top three of their lineup. Well, will Freddie be a first ballot guy? We'll see. Three future Hall of Famers in the top three of that lineup. So it's they're doing a lot of good things. And oh, by the way, they have maybe the greatest left-hander of all on their rotation. Still pitching well.
Yeah. Here's a question to break things up, Lau. Let's get away from the depressing subjects and let's answer something fun. Do you see this question on YouTube? Do you see the one I'm about to ask? Could you guess which one it is?
I can, but read it.
This one is from. It's the username starts with LJ. A lot of letters in there. But the question is, okay, guys. On a lighter note, who's a better student?
Between the two of us, right?
Yeah.
This would actually be a great one for somebody to send in for Answer the Question Jerk tomorrow morning. So if anybody's listening to Brock and Salk and they either DM this to us tonight or they send it in on the text line tomorrow morning, this would be a fun one. But we will answer it now. I think it was TJ. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
Lau's more in the Cardell Jones camp of I didn't come here to play school.
Oh, yeah. I actually dropped that line on the show the other day. It wasn't about me. It was about Cardell. But you did fine in high school, right?
Yeah, I had like a 3.4.
Okay, so yeah, you had a higher GPA.
I did all my homework.
I had a 3.1, 3.2. I mean, I did my homework. I would sometimes do it like the period before class just to fill things in, but I did it.
But from all the rhetoric that Lyle has made very publicly available, not really your cup of tea.
No. So here was the great thing about going to Arizona State. I want to preface this by saying the biggest reason I think the two of us both went there is because they have a fantastic journalism school. It set us up to get all these phenomenal opportunities, get on air. They have this great student radio station, all these things. We got to broadcast all these games. However, when we were not taking journalism classes or involved with all the extracurriculars, we took a lot of classes online and a lot of BS classes that counted as 3-credit classes that just consisted of, well, your assignments for the week are to do 2 discussion posts and respond to 1 person, and here's 3 credits. It's like our friends and I used to sit around all the time, all these high school teachers saying, you guys better prepare now because when you get to college, it's not going to be like this. You're not going to have all this free reign. You're really going to have to buckle down and do your work. And all our friends would sit around, look at each other, and be like, dude, I can't believe this. College is way easier than high school. It's like, I mean, I'm not kidding. Dude, it was like, I would have sometimes, I don't know, an hour of homework a week, junior and senior year, because I would just do all the discussion posts all at once and then I'd be done. Like, now, okay, I want to preface something here too. It's not that I didn't work hard. So my whole thing is like, if I'm motivated to do something, I'll work my tail off at it. There's a reason we put a lot of time and effort into this podcast. There's a reason, like the extracurriculars at school, like being a part of the radio station and broadcasting all these games and covering these teams. Like I put time and effort into that. And those were extracurriculars. I focused more on that than the school stuff. So when it came to the classes that I knew I am never using this ever again in my entire life, yeah, I'm going to take a bunch of BS online classes just to like get the A or B plus or whatever and be done with it. So yeah, I would say, TJ, to answer that question, put a tiny bit more time into, okay, I'll actually sit and listen and learn this rather than, yeah, there was a lot
Just
of things.
A tiny bit.
All right, you took a lot of online classes too. Not as many as me.
I did. Yes, I did. You're right. I'll say in high school, that's maybe where the difference was. But yeah, I enjoyed the online classes too. They were they were pretty great. And yeah, if you ever need a easy degree, I'd recommend that. It's great.
Like let me encapsulate what our friend group was like at ASU. So we have a friend who, I mean, he's definitely like the clown of our friend group. But there was a time a few of us were walking on campus to go get lunch somewhere. It was a couple weeks into school, our senior year. It's like 12:30 midday on a weekday. So naturally, on a huge campus like Arizona State, there's a ton of people walking around and going from place to place and whatever. And our buddies looking around and he goes, "Oh my God." And we look at him like maybe he stepped on something or whatever. And we're like, "What?" He's like, "Are all these people coming from class?" He goes, "How are they not just taking everything online like normal students?" It's like,
Oh,
so there it is right there in a nutshell.
pretty.
Anyway,
That's
uh,
you nailed it on the head right there.
yeah. Alex Flyger really quickly asks, "What high school did you two go to?" So I went to Lake Washington. TJ went to Ballard, and yeah,
Go Beavs.
yeah. All right, we can get
Um,
back to some Mariner stuff because we got pretty sidetracked with that.
okay, a couple questions. So here's a question from Niptonian on YouTube, and the question is, who will go down as a better GM in your opinion, Lyle? Jack Z or Jerry Dipoto?
Jerry, come on, this is not close. You don't want me to start ripping off all the drafts Jack Z went through where he was just totally incompetent and had no clue what he was doing. Jack Zarenzik lied on his resume to get the job, saying, "Oh, I'm big on analytics. I've been a proponent of this my whole life. This is the way I've come up through baseball. I'm going to change this organization." And what did he do once he got the job? It has now been reported the way he would evaluate players is he'd look at batting average and RBIs. You wonder why he wasn't a great GM. No, it's not close. People can have their opinions about Jerry all they want. If you were to actually have the audacity to say that either Jack Zarenzik or Bill Bavasi actually holds a candle to what Jerry's done here in his time in Seattle, like, go do your homework, please. And that comes from somebody who never used to do their homework, but go do your homework.
Are you guys old enough to remember when Jack C said he knew analytics? Yeah, I
No.
am. And the funny things is the remnants of Jack Zarenzik are still in the big leagues. Like we saw Alex Jackson this week. That was the
That's
last
unreal.
Jack C draft pick right there. Number 6 overall, right? Number 6.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
and you know what?
Oh,
To
sorry,
prove that
second to last draft pick. Who was his last first rounder?
it was Alex Jackson, because remember in
Who's
2015 they signed Nelly. They didn't have a first rounder.
Oh,
Their high
right. Yep.
their two highest draft picks that year were in the second round, where they got Nick Neidert and then Andrew Moore.
Wow.
So
So
to
is
show
Alex Jackson it? What other remnants are still floating around?
well, to prove that I knew more ball in high school than Jack Z ever did, I was just screaming for the Mariners to take Michael Conforto in that draft. Conforto went 10. Seems like he's turned out all right. He's not like a superstar, but he's turned out all right. Alex Jackson, he has what? Oh, like a 430 OPS in Tampa this year. Yeah. So
Yeah. Good
what
times.
a time.
Let's see what else we got here. We got there's a lot of negative JP talk on here. I'm a little floored about some of this JP conversation. Like I get he's having a down year, guys, and I'm not gonna name any one person because I think there's like 10 people commenting to cut or trade or do whatever with JP Crawford, bench him. I I'm sorry, I can't buy into that narrative. I can't do that. Like someone saying like JP sucks, like I don't see that. First of all, he's under contract, so he's going to be here next year, no matter what. Sorry, in that case. Second of all, like he's actually shown over the course of a full season like what he can do when he's healthy and he gets in a rhythm, like and really be a valuable hitter. Like there's a commenter here on the YouTube, just like, oh, JP's career year only had like 19 home runs. Yeah, compare him to the rest of the shortstops in the big leagues, guys. He's like that's a good power number for a shortstop. And the 262 average they like to mention, yeah, his on base percentage was 390. That's elite. I don't know why this conversation is happening. Guys, I know you're frustrated with the team losing, but it's not JP Crawford's fault. He's been hurt.
Yeah, it's kind of a lost season for JP, and a lot of it is because of injuries. I know he hasn't been all that great when he's been healthy, but it's been hard for him. He got banged up in April. He got sidelined for 6 weeks this summer. Yeah, there's been a lot of stop and go in his season. Also, the Mariners have a lot to replace already this winter. They're going to need a first baseman. Potentially, they're going to need a third baseman. Depending on what they do with Jorge Polanco, they may need a second baseman. If it was up to me, by the way. I'm picking that up, especially the way Polo's played in the second half. The problem is, because the Mariners may be on a budget, which is a whole other topic in itself. If they try to penny pinch and save money, they may opt to not pay Jorge Polanco $12 million next year. And if they do that, even though that's not all that much, then you have to find a second baseman too. So if you do all that and they grant the requests of all these commenters right now about getting rid of JP, that is an entire infield you have to remake this offseason. And they're not doing it through spending. Maybe like a tiny bit. Maybe they'll go get one free agent on a cheaper contract, but they're not going to get Alex Bregman to play third and then Pete Alonso to play first and then trading for Bo Bichette, who magically goes back to being a 120 WRC plus hitter and then doing something else at second base. That's not going to happen. So you got to pick your spots here. You may not like it, but you have to pick your spots. And I'm like TJ, I think with a healthy year next year, is JP going to be a top 12 hitter in the league again like he was in 2023? I don't know. Do I think he can absolutely be somewhere between a 110 and 120 WRC plus hitter and walk a lot and play quality defense like he has when healthy this year? Yeah, I do.
That's what we want.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't like replacing an entire infield for, again, the same. I'm seeing here on the YouTube comments section about people complaining about the amount of platoons. And Lau and I are going to go into this offseason with the same mindset we went into last offseason with Lau. How many platoons are they allowed?
0.
How many?
Or maybe 1.
One platoon. That's it. So we're going to hold the same thing true this coming offseason. But if you hated platoons and part-time players now, if they have to replace the whole infield, I guarantee at least half that infield would be platoons, if not more. If not more.
Yeah, I agree. That would not be good. Also, your friend Colby Jack sent us another question. I don't even know what this means. If you want to read it.
MyPillow? You know what the MyPillow guy is.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Okay.
I think that's what I think that's what he means.
All right. Well, okay.
Let's get one more in here. We Lau and I do have to wake up early tomorrow, so we got
and we still have more. Yeah, disclaimer, peek behind the curtains. We still have more prep to do for the show because these things do take some time. So, if you want to hear us talk longer and are bummed we're getting off a little early on the stream tonight, well, wake up tomorrow and hang out with us then on Brock and Salk. So 6 to 10 a.m. What's another good one? Somebody asked about Harry Ford and Cole Young. Do we want to?
What's the question?
Just about like where they could be next year. Well, first off, my friend Noah said Jeff Clements, Lyle's favorite. Yeah, right. Dude, don't get me started on that draft. That draft was unreal. Like if you need something to do, people, go back and look at the 2005 and 2006 drafts. Look at who the Mariners took, and then look at everybody else who was taken after them, and you're gonna be like, wow, this is something else. But to answer one real question.
While you look for that, there's a question. Why don't the Mariners get rid of Garver and Haniger to save money? They can't because the money's guaranteed. Someone would need to take that money from them. And I don't think anybody is taking the 28 combined $1 million those two are owed next year.
No, but and Garver's going to be around, one, because he can still be the backup catcher, and two, you're going to bank with Garver that next year he can be something closer to what they signed him to be. Even if he's not going to be a way above average hitter, at least be slightly above league average, at least productive as a backup catcher. You're going to have to bank on that with him. Now, with Haniger, yeah, nobody's going to take that money, but something with this offense didn't work, right? So you have got, like, I know ownership's going to probably be uncomfortable doing it. They probably don't want to pay $16 million to somebody not on the roster, but you want to win or not. Like, the city loves Mitch Haniger. He's a fan favorite for a reason. He may be a Mariners Hall of Famer when it's all said and done. We'll see. But, like, I just don't see a world where it makes sense for how he's produced this year to keep him on the roster in 2025. You got to have that space to either go out and get somebody else or let some of your young guys come up. So, all right, the question with Harry Ford and Cole Young was on Instagram. Harry Ford at third or Cole Young next year? Okay, I guess they're asking, could one of these guys play third? I don't think so. I mean, I guess they could. Cole Young's supposed to be more of a second baseman. Harry Ford, we don't really know what his position is going to be long term if it's not catcher. maybe he's got a chance to play third. But for both of those guys, we've talked about this. I don't think they're up till about midseason next year. They're having fine years in Double A. It's not anything like crazy over the top. So they probably have a little bit more development time in 2025. And they're both still so young. That's not a knock on them. They just probably have a little bit more developing to do, and that's fine. Hopefully we'll see them by next summer.
Yeah, I think that's it too. They're not blowing you away offensively down in
Mhm.
Double A. Now it is Double A is the hardest environment to hit out of all the Mariners minor league stops, but you don't want to rush that, especially given how the offense has been this season. The last thing you want to do is take your top 50 prospects, bring them up to the big leagues, and get their careers off to a terrible start and have pull a Jared Kelnick. I'll say pull him up too
Mhm.
quickly, struggles, never gets back on track again. So
Mhm.
that's like the last thing you want. And there's just not really a spot for either of them. Cal's still going to catch the rest of the year. Jorge Polanco's still going to play second base the rest of the year. It's not; those two are not going to take playing time away from Polanco and Cal Raleigh. So even
Mhm.
if the season's lost, that's not going to be a thing. I want to end on this one, Lyle, because I want to ask you this question. Gmo sends in a question here on Instagram. Looking forward to the show tomorrow, Lyle. Are you jealous that TJ gets to roll out of bed and get on the show from his room while you have to get up an hour earlier and drive in? Thoughts?
So we must have pieced that together. Yeah, the first two times we've done the show, we've both been in person. TJ's not doing this show in person. He's doing it from home, remotely. I guess a little. I mean, like I talked about on Friday's podcast, these wake ups are hard. I love being a part of the show. It's been a blast, but the wake ups are hard. So I'm sure TJ will not exactly be like just filled with energy right when he hops on tomorrow. Like 5:30 is still earlier or whenever we hop on tomorrow to start planning stuff for the show. But yeah, sure. I mean, I guess I'm a little jealous. That is potentially 2 extra hours of sleep because
It,
he will literally
it'll be
just roll out.
one
But
extra hour sleep.
I mean, yeah, but you'll eventually just roll out of bed and sit down on the chair and start getting ready to do the show. Where yeah, there is more of a commute time for me. So yeah, maybe a little jealous. Sure.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we make through it without any technical
Yeah.
difficulties. So we'll
Exactly.
tune in to find out.
I think
I'm confident we'll make it through all 4 hours, but
I agree. I mean, hey, well,
this will be a first. This will be a first for us.
yeah, well, Anna says maybe TJ should move back to Seattle. Well, I'm down. That's a good idea.
No, that'll be fun.
Yeah. Hopefully soon enough here.
All right.
But yeah, I guess that about wraps it up.
Yeah. Well, appreciate all you guys for tuning in. Again, make sure to follow us on all of our social media channels at Marine Layer Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Find us on YouTube, Marine Layer Podcast. Just hit the search. You'll see it. See the teal logo. Make sure to hit subscribe. Turn on the notification bell so you don't miss anything. We're going to be live right back here next Sunday, 7 o'clock Pacific. We look forward to talking to you guys then, hopefully on a more upbeat note. But until then, we'll see you guys later.